Episode 56 of the Geek Week in Review, and this week we're talking about Thor, Love and Thunder. Stay tuned.
The Geek Week in Review.
Hello and welcome back to the Geek Week in Review with me, Jacob's Toys, of course, the wonderful one and only SuperSorrell, and it would be Ryan Speaks Geek, but he's still on holiday. I think he only went for like 2 weeks, but it fell over 2 of our recording days. So he's away. But he did send in a little tidbit. So let's just cut to Ryan's little clip quickly.
Hello, welcome to week 56, episode 56 of the Geek Week in Review. I'm still not there. I'm here in Zakynthos. Don't worry, I'm not getting any more out of the pool than this. No one needs to see Jabba the Hutt in a pair of swim shorts. The guys would probably have seen Thor by now because that's out. I haven't, because unless I want to sit with subtitles or in Greek, then I'll just wait till I get back to the UK. But what I do have is a little video about the terrifying, amazing knockoff toys of Zakynthos. And you know what? I've even bought one to do a little unboxing, just for you guys. So I'm sure the guys are going to say something really good about the fact I'm not here again. But you guys really love seeing my picture in the corner rather than seeing me. So it's all okay. But until then, I won't say keep it geek, because actually Jake gets annoyed at that. So I'll just be geeking it real. That'll do. See you later, guys.
Yeah, he doesn't want to rub it in much being in the pool, especially today. Like today,
doing that pool right now.
It is ridiculously hot. Like this weekend just gone, it's just been ridiculously hot. And the weather's only going to get hotter, which is always good. Always good. So he has also sent in a, as he said, he was going to send in some of the awful kind of knockoff counterfeit toys, and he has sent us a little video. So we'll get to that a little bit later, just to keep you teased. If you are listening on podcast, then do check out the video, because Ryan's sent over a whole video of these toys, and some of them really have to be seen to be believed, which is unbelievable. But yeah, please do check out the website, and obviously give us a follow on all various different social media platforms. It's very much appreciated. So, Sorrel, we haven't had much in the way of toy news. With San Diego Comic-Con just around the corner, everyone is keeping those cards very close to their chest.
Yeah,
so not much at all.
We just had a couple of little things this week, if you want to go over them right quick. One of which was the new San Diego Comic-Con TVC figure pack, if you will. It's called the Rescue Set. Basically, it's TVC version of, we've got another Grogu, another Mando, not the Death Trooper, the other one, the big metallic trooper, what do you call them? The Death Troopers?
Purge Trooper. Death Trooper. Yeah, the big robot looking ones.
Yeah, from Mando, that one. And a Moff Gideon.
Something Trooper.
Now, they have upgraded them a little bit by giving Moff Gideon and Mando cloth capes. And they've put some fire effects pieces so that you can set the Death Trooper on fire. So it's all right, but it's a cardboard Dio box, basically, a bit like what we got last year with the Emperor. Very similar sort of set. It's meant to look like the detention center where he's holding Grogu and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
And one of the things that did catch my attention this week, before we move on to all the TV and news and stuff, Funko. Very surprisingly, of doing a line of just gaming greats Funkos based on Star Wars. Did you see those?
Yeah, I did see those.
Interestingly, we get in the droid. I can never remember his name, but it's the droid from Force Unleashed. You know, the one that basically was like his training dummy droid, that was like his friend in the ship.
Yeah.
Basically, we're getting him, which means that they've obviously got the rights to make the rest of the Force Unleashed characters. So it's very interesting when Force Unleashed is around the corner again with the new game, with the game kind of coming out again, and there's talk of bringing Sam Witwer into live action, and it's all they've renewed a lot of merch very quickly, it seems.
Yeah. I think we said previously, I mean, bringing him into live action is just it's a checkmate move, really, isn't it? They've got to do it because it's what everyone's craving for, to see those computer game versions of the characters out in real life. But yeah, figure-wise, it's been really quiet, really quiet. And I think we said last week, I'm really surprised there's not been more leaks or kind of rumors really floating around. But yeah, I'm going into this SDCC completely blind.
Did you see the god-awful Target exclusive Stranger Things Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover?
No, I didn't.
So, like they did the Cobra Kai ones where they just gave us a Cobra Kai figure and a turtle in the outfit.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, all they've done this time is given us some dodgy-looking Stranger Things characters that don't look anything like. They've given us an 11 and a Hopper, and put them in with Raphael and Leonardo, but they're just the green turtles with the red bandanas. So all they've done is change out the accessories. So it's the same figure 4 times with this random Stranger Things crossover.
Why?
It got me really mad because like season 4 even has like the whole pizza van crossover thing. They could have done something really cool and put the turtles inside that pizza van and released the pizza van from Stranger Things, and that would have been a better crossover than what they've given us right now.
Yeah. There's so much potential there, but
and it's that Hopper in the floral shirt as well. The one that I think didn't McFarlane do it or someone? Did
season
someone already
3,
do
wasn't
that one?
it?
Yeah.
And
so I'm sure McFarlane released that exact same one.
Yeah, and we had that Hopper and the 11 as well, like the kind of loud dressed 11, didn't we? That was that's season 3, last season. Let's talk Stranger Things, because Stranger Things, even though it concluded last week, it's still very much a hot topic.
Yeah.
And before we kind of get into the details, let's talk about it. So for anyone that hasn't seen Thor: Love and Thunder, we are going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. So there are spoilers ahead for that. Everyone by now should have seen Stranger Things, so I've got no kind of real issue about not giving a spoiler warning. But we had London Film and Comic-Con this weekend just gone. And there was a couple of the Stranger Things cast down there. Did you see all the stuff on social media that people were kicking off? Like, the fans are really kicking off. So we had... what's his name? David Harbour. David Harbour. Hopper. We had him down there because he's in the West End at the moment. So he's in a show in the West End. Very almost went, actually. My missus went, do you want to go and see this show? It's him and someone else famous. I can't remember. But we didn't go. So he was there. Naturally, it was going to happen, wasn't it? And I think for there to be a Comic-Con the weekend after this huge kind of finale of the season, the series, it was going to be mad. And TikTok is alive with it. Instagram is alive with it. Like, people just go in there to get stuff signed. But Joseph Quinn was there as well, who plays Eddie. Yeah. Now, Eddie's obviously the season favorite. Like, everyone loves Eddie. And people on social media are really kicking off about how badly handled London Film Comic-Con like kind of managed him with his meet and greets and stuff, saying that it was oversubscribed, that they were kind of like, there was no breaks for him, and he was trying to talk to people and they were like shouting at him and moving people on, and so, like, they had obviously milked this cow dry for the weekend. Because I mean, he's a British actor, he's done a lot, he was in Game of Thrones and stuff like that. But this was his big thing that made him a real kind of, everyone wanted to kind of meet him. If he was down at London Film and Comic Con a year ago, I don't think his table would have been anywhere near as popular as it was this year. And because of the way his character kind of concluded in the series, let's say, it's obviously it's not going to last too much longer. Like, maybe next year it won't be as popular. So they really did milk it by the sounds of it. And this is social media, so you got to take it with a pinch of salt, and it's everybody's individual experience. But there was a lot of it popping up, and I was like, wow, I'm really glad I didn't go down.
Monopoly events are renowned for it, though. Let's be honest. Yeah, they did the same thing with Loki, didn't they? They did the same thing with Loki, and they did the same thing with Hayden Christensen. They just oversold tickets for the meet and greets and the sign-ins and the pictures, and they were just forcing the actor to stand there all day and just take it. And then obviously the fans couldn't get what they wanted, which you do want that. If you pay like 200 quid for someone ridiculously high paid, then you want that 5 minutes with them. You want that kind of 2-minute talk with them and just say, your piece to them or whatever. Yeah. And to be pushed along in a queue after I paid like 200 quid to see someone, I would be fuming as well, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I completely agree. I do completely agree. But let's talk about Stranger Things as a series. So we saw that epic, what was it, 4 hours, I think it was in
4 hours
total across those.
episodes. Yeah.
I just thought it was fantastic. I thought it was the best 2 episodes of Stranger Things to date. Like, I just think that it was really hard to top. And for a series to be kind of 4 seasons down, quite close together as well in the kind of respect of how long it's been going, it's really up in its game every time, and it's really kind of taking it to a new level. And like I said before, I love the fact that so much of the world are massively fanboying, fangirling and stuff over essentially Dungeons and Dragons. Like, it's, it's a kind of like, all of a sudden the geeks are kind of going, all right, you think that's cool? You think that stuff's cool, do you? It's the same for me with Marvel films, and like sort of seeing these people that would never pick up a comic book kind of calling themselves a really die-hard Marvel film because of films, Marvel fan because of films and stuff, which is great. But I'm just like, this is amazing. Like, this is all the stuff that we've always kind of loved. People, the general public are now kind of taking it on. But yeah, I just thought it was a fantastic conclusion to a series. It just had me on the edge of my seat the whole time.
Did you see the thing about that the grandfather clock has been there all along? Did you see that? Like, people have like gone back and pointed out the grandfather clock is actually in every season. At some point or another, really? It's actually there.
Well,
so
people
that has been like an Easter egg from the beginning.
I knew people were sort of saying that they saw Vecna in season 1. They've gone back and they saw Vecna, and I'm thinking that's a real stretch. Like, let's be honest, I don't think that they would have been foreshadowing 4 seasons later, sort of thing. But the thing is, like the grandfather clock, that's a really cool little Easter egg, because they could have put that in with no real extra cost to those first seasons.
It could have just been on coincidence. That grandfather clock could have just been there on coincidence. It was just in someone's house, and then people now, obviously, because of the whole symbolism now to the 4th season, everyone's like, oh, there's a grandfather clock there.
Yeah. They're looking at a watch. Foreshadowing. What was the biggest part for you? What was the biggest pop for you?
The part that made me get ridiculously excited, obviously, was the scene with the Metallica song, the Puppet Master, and that whole sequence, the music. It was like an 80s rock video.
Oh, it was brilliant, wasn't it?
Where she's running around the house trying to escape Vecna. Eddie's playing the guitar, and Dustin's just geeking out in the corner, just nodding, like head banging along. It was just a very well put together little segment.
I thought it was like a beautiful mashup between Meatloaf and Tenacious D. Like, it was just like, wasn't it? It was just like everything that a Meatloaf video would have, but then with the comical element of Tenacious D. Yeah, I loved that. I thought that was such a brilliant scene, and I've seen it cut with so many different songs as well. Like, people have like edited it with different songs, and it was just fantastic. But people called him dying right at the beginning, because every season they introduce us to like a new character that becomes like a bit of a favorite, and then they get killed off. So people were calling it.
I've got a theory that we're going to see all the characters again in season 5. You know, like they brought back her brother in season 4 in that scene, like from the Upside Down. I'm wondering whether, because haven't we had 4 deaths now as well, one each season?
Yeah, well, it depends how you look at it, because there was, in that last episode, there was 4 or 5 deaths, but they were not kind of main.
The notable ones, like you've got Nancy's friend from the first season. I can never remember her name.
Barbara.
So we could have Barbara, I think his brother, and then Eddie. They could have those 3, and then someone in the next season who gets killed off. They could be like almost like Vecna's 4 horsemen kind of thing, and you might use them against the cast, because they wouldn't want to. If they imagine like a demonic version of Eddie come up from Vecna's realm, they wouldn't want to fight him because he's their friend. Yeah. They'd find an alternate way to try and defeat them, or like snap them out of it, kind of thing. That would be a cool way of like using the cast again for like one last thing on the season. Yeah. Season 5 is the ending.
Yeah, that's it. It's the last part. Well, the funny thing is Barbara, like Barb or whatever her name was, however they pronounced it, was such a big thing. So like for a good year or so afterwards, there was like Justice for Barb t-shirts and posters and stuff because people were like, she was cool, like, and they killed her off. And I think that they're going to have the same thing with Eddie, especially like Billy. It was a bit different because he was a bad guy and stuff. But yeah, I think Eddie's going to be another Barb without a doubt that the fans are going to kind of be like, bring him back. So if there is a way of doing it.
Well, the good thing we should have Dungeons and Dragons to help us out here because it is heavily based on Dungeons and Dragons. Vecna, also known as the Whispered One, the Undying King, the Lord of the Rotted Tower. You can tell I played Dungeons and Dragons over the years. And there's actually another character, and I'm trying to think of its name, but basically it's very tied in with Vecna's character's like story, and it's basically a necromancer who can bring back the dead. So this is why I'm bringing up this thing, because I wonder if they're going to introduce that as like the season 5 little like villain before the fight Vecna, before it becomes all about Vecna. They might bring this other character in, like the Lich King kind of thing, who can then basically rise these people from the dead as like liches or whatever, like bring them back as evil versions.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that's heavily in the Dungeons and Dragons lore. And one thing that I love as well is the fact that if you look at the actual versions of Dungeons and Dragons, Vecna didn't become what he is today until version 4 of the Dungeons Guide. It was version 4 of Dungeons and Dragons where he became the guy he is now, and it was season 4 when he kind of got his full power in Stranger Things.
Yeah,
one of them geeky little facts that I love.
So there is
coincidental, but yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know though, because like Duffer Brothers, like they seem very in touch with the source material that they're using. It's not just kind of a lot of beautiful coincidences. Like they seem very in touch with what they're doing.
Dungeons Dragons and Stranger Things have a what do you call it? Like a special agreement. Basically, they wanted Vecna for the TV series, and Dungeons Dragons said, "Hell yeah, use Vecna." And if you read the articles on it, the Duffer Brothers were basically like, they've been told they can use whatever they want from Dungeons Dragons lore. They can have anything and put it in Stranger Things, and they can use as much or as little as they want. They can just take one of the characters and make their own thing out of it, or they can use the complete lore of Dungeons Dragons if they want.
I wonder how many new Dungeons and Dragons kind of fans or players these series have built.
I'm not sure about where you are, but in my local area, loads of the comic book shops have started playing Dungeons and Dragons, and they've got a lot of kids in playing it based on the Stranger Things Dungeons and Dragons by Hasbro.
Yeah.
They're basically teaching them to play that, and then saying from there they'll move them into the proper Dungeons and Dragons. So they've started them off on like the Stranger Things version to get them in.
Groom them on the Stranger Things stuff, and then just give them a box of geekiness. That's funny. No, the big bit for me in that epic was Max's kind of, I want to say death because she did die, but I love Max's character just because of the relationship she has with the boys and 11. Which obviously 11's like best friend. And when you think of the Stranger Things kind of group, you think of the 4 boys, you think of 11, and very rarely there's like Max isn't kind of included in that. She's like the best friend, but she is like a staple part of that group. Obviously had a relationship with Lucas, was the best friend with 11. And I don't know. And then the whole thing with Billy, like I really liked Billy as a character in the last series, and there was all that stuff with her, and she's just dealt with so much compared to a lot of the others. And I didn't think they were going to do her that dirty. I didn't think that Vecna was going to actually get her. I thought that it was going to be her kind of hero moment. So the minute she was kind of off the ground and the tape player had been smashed, and like Lucas is stood there, and then as soon as you see that first like leg or arm or whatever it was snap, like it was like a verbal, oh no, I actually like said it. I was like, no. But having spoken about season 5, there's been quite a few kind of interviews and stuff about season 5. And one of the things that they've confirmed and they keep kind of coming back to is Max being in a coma. So I think her being in a coma is going to be something key to what's going on.
Well, basically she was technically dead. 11 brought her back. Well, brought her conscience back is what I believe it was. So she's basically a vegetable right now, and she's in a coma. She's basically just there, existing. And I'm wondering whether that's going to have a thing on the series, obviously, because 11 can communicate with her via the telepathic link, the upside down kind of thing. I wonder whether that's going to be like a thing.
Yeah, I wonder if it's going to we're going to see like a Max 2.0, that she gets some kind of ability or some kind of,
that would be cool.
And then because we've already seen that 11 wasn't strong enough on her own to kind of defeat him. So, you know, as far as kind of storytelling goes, you've seen the big hero go up against the big villain and they're not quite good enough. Well, in the next season or the next film or whatever, that's when they build a team. That's when they get somebody that's as good as them to kind of buddy up. And, you know, that's the way that stories normally go. So it would say to me that 11 needs to find somebody else that can help.
So think of it, because they're so into the Dungeons and Dragons element, my theory is last season the group was splintered. They were all over the place doing different things from different locations, trying to help each other in different ways. This next season, they're all going to go up against Vecna together as a party, which is what Dungeons and Dragons is. They're gonna basically reunite the party and go after Vecna as a solid unit of team. And that, I think that's how they're going to do it. It'll be a case of, you know, because they're together, I think is the reason why they'll do it.
Fair enough.
Because like last time there was like 11 and that were on their own, whereas now they've got Hopper, they've got the rest of the other characters with them now, like firmly.
Oh yeah, that's it. Every key character is in that location. They're all back in Hawkins. So, and what was the mushroom dude? What was the surfer pizza guy? I can't remember his name.
Never remember
but
what
what happened to him? Because we literally saw him picking a mushroom. He was picking a mushroom, but then he wasn't in any of the group shots at the end. So like,
he's probably smashed off his tree eating mushrooms in the corner.
You'll see him at the end of season 5, just kind of wake up, like, whoa, man, like, my dude. But no, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was like a phenomenal bit of television. They had said that there's going to be a time jump between season 4 and season 5, though.
Really?
And it comes out in 2025. But I think if we look at the cast as well, they're all
3
kind
years?
of what? Yeah.
3 years till the next season. That's insane.
I'm sure it said 2025 on the poster that I saw.
Okay.
But if you think about the cast, they're all what, 17, 18, 19 kind of thing. And if you look even at Millie Bobby Brown, how much she's grown up since season 1 to now, in a year, 2 years, 3 years, she's going to grow up even more. She's going to be into her 20s. So they could really jump it quite far forward because of the maturity of the actors, that they're going to look a lot older than they are. So they really could jump forward quite a bit in time, which would be even more interesting if Max is still in a coma, because if it's gone on a few years and she's still in that coma. But they're just whispers I've heard on the internet. So you never know, it might start exactly where it left off.
I'd say I would have. Obviously, if there's a 3-year gap, it'll be hard to do, but they're going to look very different. But it would be cool to see it just continue from that moment, because the town has just turned into the Upside Down. Basically, it's starting to leak through to the world and stuff, to Hawkins, and it would be cool to see them continue from that moment. But
but you never know. They might have, but they could have filmed back to back and filmed a 20-minute segment. While they were set up, you know, I think that if I was going to time jump something and it was coming out in the future, that's what I would do. I'd be like, right, we're here. Let's film that first 20 minutes of how I see it in my head. And then if that works still with the story that I'm writing, then happy days. But yeah, it was just brilliant. It was brilliant. And I'll, have you started rewatching it again? I know you said that you were tempted to. Have you started?
So I've started from season 1 again. I'm going to binge watch the whole 4 seasons, I think. I've started on season 1 again.
Nice.
I just love. Nice. I love that first initial episode where they're all in the basement, and the Demogorgon goes, "Ah!"
Yeah, they're like proper little kids playing Dungeons and Dragons, which is brilliant.
They're so small in that season. They're so little.
Oh, I know. So what else have we had this week? We've Miss Marvel, and then obviously Thor. Miss Marvel, Thor.
I think we're going to have a good talk about Thor for a while, so let's go Miss Marvel.
Tell you what, before we get onto it, let's let Ryan show off his toys. It's only a couple of minutes, so he sent in this really cool clip. Let's go to it now.
We interrupt the Geek Week in Review for a special video and presentation. Ta-da! Hello, Ryan Speaks Geek here. Let's have a quick look, as promised, at some of the terrifying toys of Zakynthos, and let's roll the VT. Let's have a look. Viewer beware, you're in for a scare. We've got, look at this, Avengers Endgame, the great film. Captain America, Daryl cosplaying as Thor, that's always good. Grimace, the terrifying, oh god no. Transformers, always there, Robot Prime. Mecha Deflation, Robot Fighter Robot. Then we've got some chibi Barbies, or Farbies, if you will. Very odd selection there. Deformation Dinosaurs, who doesn't love to collect these? And here we go, look. Do you want to build a snowman? No way, she's dead. Her head's missing. Terrifying. Plot twist for Inside Out. Riley's already dead, as you can see. Never saw that coming. This is Bionicle, clearly legit. Got no comments on this one. But there is a selection of weird toys in here, including a 90s Action Man still in box. Just there, hanging out. Then we've got these Galactic Hero rip-offs, very oddly painted. And then we've got, look at that, giant Lego Star Wars minifigure. C-3PO's got a gun. Great. Asa Alt. Just love the name of this. Weird one. But cool. Generation 4, the Superman film we were robbed and denied. And we got My Little Horse. I guess they had to grow up someday. Just never knew it was so soon. Lele Ninja. Not Lego. Lele. Then we got Zootopia, but it was apparently animated by someone who has nightmares. Prick, the best name for a Lego fake company I've ever seen. And they also made a My Little Boney. So that's good to know that that's there. LQL mini dolls. What does that actually stand for? Deformation. These were definitely deformed, I can confirm it. Doesn't even transform, that one. I don't even know what this is. I just took a picture. No, Ninja Watch. Lovely. And then the Super 4 heroes, maybe? Robots Deformation series. Again, Captain America. Look at him. But, oh my god, what? Oh, he's got to have a brain. Where's his brain? Oh, nope. Just nope. Oh, look at that Minecraft. But Luke Skywalker's Michael Jackson. Teletubbies, why is it 18 plus? Lots of questions there. Ray, looking great there, mate. And then we've got one Super Robot 5. Just numbers. Dong Princess, coming from Disney Plus.
So there we go. That's Ryan's, I can't even say toy shopping out in Greece. Some of those are very questionable. I must admit, though. Yeah, no, My Little Horse was my favourite. I must admit, he's got greater restraint than me, because I would have just ended up buying them just for the sake of it. But it's just the way that they take a lot of Disney films, and like, how can you package up a Frozen set with Anna with like a broken neck? Like, it's just not good. And Captain America with half a head. If you're going to put it in a clamshell packet where you can see behind the figure, at least finish the head off. But yeah, no, I appreciate that, Ryan. And he did buy one. He has bought one. So we'll talk about Miss Marvel, and then we'll cut to his unboxing of his mystery toy. I think he just bought his favourite to add to the collection, but we'll see what he got. So yeah, Miss Marvel. It was all right. It's slowed down a lot for me. The initial hype of it has kind of burnt out a little bit. I am really enjoying it, and as like an origin story, I'm really enjoying it. And we're obviously going up to the final episode this coming week, so I'm interested to see what happens. But I did like the time travel part, and I kind of guessed from the beginning that it was going to be heard. You know, when I say I liked it, it was quite poetic, because as soon as I saw her back there at the end of the last episode, I was kind of like, she's going to be the one that guides her great grandma back to the great grandfather, and it's all just looped into one.
But it's fallen into that. I hate time travel, because then we now fall into the trap of, but she wasn't there originally to do this, and now we're in this loop that shouldn't exist because she wasn't around back then to go back in time to do the. Oh, it hurts my brain.
I know. I rewatched Endgame and Infinity War the other day, and the way that they talk about time travel is still my kind of go-to when they're like listing all the films, and Ant-Man goes, Die Hard. No, that's not one. It's just, you know. But yeah, it was an enjoyable episode. You know, there was stuff happening. It was fun. I think she's definitely established well as a good kind of Marvel character. That they could pretty much put her in any of the big team up films now, and I think people would enjoy her being there. I don't know how strong it is for a second season or not. I assume we probably will get one.
I was saying that I wonder if this was just doing the TV stuff seems to be a very easy way for them to break in an origin story and then move on. We noticed that like we've got like the Hawkeye season was to finish off Hawkeye's story and start Kate Bishop. This series is to introduce Kamala. She-Hulk series is to introduce She-Hulk. It's so that they don't have to do it in the films. They could just start the movies like they did with Thor and just run with it, and they don't have to bother reintroducing anything. It's just they just go because everyone's watched the TV.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what else. I haven't really read many Miss Marvel comics. I'm not sure what else they could do with Miss Marvel once she's joined the cosmic universe. Can we really then go back to her just fighting street level stuff?
Yeah,
I don't know. Boring.
Well, we know that she's going to be in the Marvels, or the Marvel Presents Miss Marvel, Marvel. We know that she's going to be in that. So maybe this is just a case of here's the origin story. Here's how she gets from A to B. And then she just dives in. She jumps into that Marvel mashup film, and then maybe into like a Young Avengers or a New Avengers or something like that. Like we've got quite a few. If they were trying to kind of build a team, and I don't know what they would necessarily call it yet, because there's a lot of different teams out there in Marvel comics. But let's just say they were trying to recreate the Avengers with the newer characters. You've got like, Shang-Chi, you've got Sam Wilson's Captain America, you've got Kate Bishop's Hawkeye, you've got the She-Hulk, you've got Kamala. There's enough characters out there now that they could essentially throw them in a big team up film. And I think if you think back to kind of phase 1 and phase 2 of Marvel, when they were dropping the films in, they didn't create a lot of films before they gave us Avengers in comparison to how much TV and film is being put out now. And we haven't had any real hints to that big kind of team up one yet, have we? So they must have something up their sleeve. They must have something up their sleeve, or what they're kind of building towards. But I like her. And I'm pleased that she's in the Marvel universe.
I'm trying to. The 5th Avengers movie is set to come out in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
So we've still got 2 more years of TV and movies to go. Yeah, before the next big thing.
Yeah, that's a lot of film and TV before they give us something. But then it might be that, we've got things like Secret Wars, we've got Armor Wars, we've got all these different kind of, team up films that potentially they could kind of throw the different characters into. But yeah, I mean, I don't have a huge amount to say about it, to be fair. I'm enjoying it. I'm not surprised that there hasn't been a load of merchandise in regards to figures, because there isn't a lot of kind of marketable characters in it, is there? It's really similar to Hawkeye. You've got the kind of the main characters, but as far as kind of costumed characters go, they could have given us a full wave with her in like the cosplay costume, and then even the dad in the cosplay costume. They could, her in her official costume, and then obviously the other guys that she's encountered. But none of them really have a suit as such, do they? They're very civilian-looking clothing. Yeah. So I'm quite pleased they haven't tried to milk that just yet. But I'm disappointed that the figure they are releasing doesn't come with any kind of effect pieces. That does annoy me.
Especially as the majority of her powers in this have been very much effects-orientated. The little platforms or something that's put on her shoes would have been nice, so it makes it look like she's like floating.
That would have been really cool. That would have been really wicked.
Because that has been like the main thing she's used a lot in that program, is the little stepping stone, little purple effects things. I mean, I'm sure some 3D printer out there will have them within the month, but the little stepping stones with a little pin on them just to put in the bottom of the foot, and then you could use a flight stand. That would just look really cool to put her in like a running pose, like she's jumping up the.
That would be wicked. So somebody will do that. Give it a couple of weeks. I'm surprised nobody's put it out there yet, actually, with the announcement of the figure. But who knows? We might see one. And if we do see one and it's somebody that watches the show, give us some kind of credit here, give us some kind of a nod. But yeah, I haven't really got any predictions going into that final episode.
I've got no idea. For once, a bit like the last couple of stuff, to be honest. I'm not massive on the character. I don't really know much of her storyline, so I'm pretty much going in blind to the story. Yeah. So I don't really know where this could go, to be honest. I'm just looking forward to it. I'm guessing Carol Danvers that's the big reveal at the end, isn't it? It's Danvers turning up probably. Or
she's gonna be in. It'd be interesting if both of them showed up together, because then it would kind of, imply that something has happened that we haven't seen yet. I must admit though, I was surprised when her mum found out about her. I honestly thought we were going to see kind of a mini montage scene of the mum and the nan kind of making her costume. I really did think that was where her costume was going to come from, that it was going to be made, and it would also underpin all the things about her family values and the traditions and the integrity within the family. So I think that's where her costume is going to come from personally.
That sounds good, yeah.
And even the mum holding up the little earring that had snapped, like with a lightning bolt looking thing, and I was like, she's going to make her a costume. But
that would be good, because then obviously she's got the mask from her best friend, because he gave her the mask, didn't he? It's like the mask from her best friend, the costumes come from her family, the bracelets come from her grandmother. That would be a very poetic, a bit of everything, a bit of everyone's influences on her.
She's not kind of alone. She's got it all from her family, and that's that's one of the key messages throughout the series, is about the communities and the family and the kind of looking out for each other and stuff like that. What I am interested in though is that I forget the name, but her best friend, who we saw in the first couple of episodes, obviously found out about her powers at the end of episode 4.
Yeah.
When she came out and shut the door and stuff, but we didn't have any hint towards that at all. So we've also got to deal with that kind of communication between her and her best friend. And, is there going to be a conversation? Is it going to lead to something else? Is it anything more than just her friend being kind of flabbergasted? But I don't know. Who knows? No. But yeah, not a huge amount to say about her, except really looking forward to the last episode. And I suppose we'll pick it up then.
See how it rounds up.
Yeah. Now, before we get on to the big one this week, because there's big stuff that's happened this week in the
Let me just turn the light on.
That's right. I'm gonna wait here. I'm gonna wait here for Sorrell while he goes and turns the light on. I think he can hear me, but
yes, I can.
It's a good job I didn't say anything cruel, let's be honest.
I just realised there's no Ryan this week, because I didn't want to walk off.
No,
normally we just walk off and one of us will just keep talking, but there we go.
Okay. I'll just talk to myself. No, but I tell you what, if we had planned this properly, we could have cut to Ryan's unboxing now, but let's cut to that now, and let him show us his little Greek counterfeit. I don't even want to give it away what it is, but it's special. It's special. So here's Ryan.
Pretty terrifying. The one with that half the head. I mean, that's like something out of a horror movie. But I did pick up one to do an unboxing. Funny enough, when I was at the airport, I actually did get something I needed, which was I found that in the duty free. Yay! So I got Star Wars, but I didn't pay any tax. Awesome. So I did get Star Wars for my terrifying toy, because this was in a shop where the woman, it was right next to the counter, so I didn't really feel like I could do some filming there, because I felt it would have been harsh. So I went and bought it. I spent €3.10 just for you at home, because so it's Star Wars. Let's start with the back of the packaging. I mean, it's actually pretty good. It's got the whole thing there. It's like the Revenge of the Sith type style logo from the figures, but then you've got the whole poster. But then we get something else. Let's start from here. You think, oh, it's a Darth Maul. What could possibly be more? Hey guys, look at this face. Let's be like Steve and let these breathe. That came off way too easy. That was so unsatisfying. What I do have is the really stretched image of a Republic cruiser there. Like, it will fit in this card picture. Yeah, that came off so easy. And it came off the back of the card easy as well, which is nice. So here we have Darth Maul. I say Darth Maul. Let's see if we can get it to focus on this really terrifying face, because I'm almost annoyed I can't get it to focus on how bad it is. Do you know what? I'm going to take a photo and pop it up in the corner right here. See what I mean? How terrifying that is. Horrendous. It's pretty weighty, considering it was €3.10. It's rubbery. I think it's more rubber. Look at that. But we have got the knee articulation, elbow articulation, arm articulation. Look, he is just ready to go. He's good. What we don't have though if you look up skirt, got this show cancelled. You have no actual leg articulation in the middle there, so it's a rubbery good leg, but you can do the knee, so you can do a good running pose. I probably would say is the best you could do here. I say running pose, interesting pose. You'll notice there's a little ditty here. There's a switch at the back. Does it light up? So it's got a switch, however. By the powers of the Force, look at that. Look at that. God, you don't get that on a Hasbro figure. You just don't get that on a Hasbro figure. We've got a little bit of moulding here as well. So like a mohawk between the horns. I'm sure that came out of the high quality factory press. But this face is terrifying. It reminds me of the demon in Insidious, I think it is. Which if I can get that up here, I'll put it up here and you can see what I mean. But there it is. It's weighty, but it's just terrifying looking. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, it's got waist articulation. I'm just checking if it came part of the waist, because that would have been a really funny little feature. But if you're if you're listening to this, it's weighty, it's semi-articulated. It's the face, and it lights up. It's got a light up feature. It's basically he's got a light up chest for some reason, but just the one bulb. But the face is just something of nightmares. But so as promised, here we go. That was the terrifying toys of Zakynthos, and I'm going to get back to my holiday now. So love you and leave you guys, but until then I'll be geeking it real, because I don't want to use Jake's catchphrase. Bye. That concludes our feature presentation. Back to Jake and Ash in the studio.
Thank you, Ryan, for taking a time out of your holiday to send us stuff over. If you are listening on podcast, then I do urge you to go and look up the video on YouTube, just because those two segments from Ryan have to be seen to be believed. And that is a very crazy looking Darth Maul figure. One thing he I don't think he mentioned it was what lightsaber it came with.
No,
if it even came with a lightsaber.
Did it even come with one?
I might have just missed over. I might have been so kind of blind to the fact that he had like a light up chest that I missed what lightsaber he came with. So
I'd love it if it just came with a mace or something, just some random weapon.
Yeah. Mace Windu. If I have missed that lightsaber, if we did miss it, then let us know in the comments if you saw something. Or Ryan, let us know in the comments if we missed something. But Ryan will be back with us next week. He will be back. I was going to say in the studio, but it's not, is it? He'll be back in his house.
Studio.
But it's no. I've just dropped something. Hang on. Where did I drop that?
Is that how you refer to your little man cave? The studio room.
Well, this is my little studio. Yeah.
Studio room.
This is my little studio room in the house. Not that we do any recording or anything here, but it's kind of my little studio. Okay, so let's talk about the big one. Let's talk about the big one that is Thor: Love and Thunder. Thor: Love and Thunder came out on Thursday, I think it was.
Yeah, Thursday.
And they had all of the red carpet, blue carpet, the UK premiere, the LA premiere, and the stars were out. They were across and shipped all over. Taika Waititi was flying left, right, and centre and attending most of them. So spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen it yet, there are spoilers ahead. We are going to rip this film apart. So we're not going to leave any stone uncovered here. Last chance. Stuff still here, then you want to hear what we've got to say. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it at all. I know that we've talked in Messenger. It wasn't my favourite Phase 4 film, but I didn't hate it.
No, it's not my favourite Phase 4. That still definitely is with Doctor Strange right now. That was still the better film overall for me. But I went in with this one thinking, it's gonna be a Thor film with Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's just gonna be a bit random. And then we're going to get Jane Foster at some point. But I was very surprised at how the story actually unfolded for it. Like, we don't get much Guardians, if at all. They're in it for all 10 seconds.
Yeah, I think that's the bit that I'll be honest, I had quite a few disappointing moments with it where I was kind of like, oh, is that it? Oh, or, and the first one was that the Guardians literally are in it and out of it. And the reason why I was disappointed is that if you think back to Endgame, we saw Thor kind of, what was he called? Like Bro Thor or Fat Thor or whoever it is. But he was that like Big Lebowski kind of Thor. He had just redeemed himself on the battlefield and he was going off with the Guardians. And there was that whole kind of back and forth between who the captain is and all that kind of stuff. And everyone was like, we need an Asgardians of the Galaxy film. Like, that is going to be money. And I kind of think that they missed the trick. I don't think that they gave us enough of that. Like, they gave us enough to feel the story. But I think that was a film in itself, that whole section.
They've missed it. And I thought, again, you know, once they'd gone to like Olympus or whatever it was, and Zeus kind of declined to help, that's when I assumed he was going to be like, don't worry, I've got a trump card, and he was going to call the Guardians. And I thought that's when they'd show up. And then when they didn't do that, then I thought at the end of the film, the whole thing about leaving Jane Foster behind, I actually didn't see her turning up at the end. I thought, again, you might just hear someone say like on your left or something, like some cheesy call back to Infinity War, and Groot and Rocket will come charging through. And I thought you'd see them come back to his aid at some point, but it's like they've just forgotten him and just they've gone done their own thing now.
Yeah, it was just a total missed opportunity that, and it would have been a big money film because, you know, they're all big stars in their own right. And I think even in the Guardians of the Galaxy, like the payout on those films must be really high when you look at the level of kind of character actors and actresses and that they've got in it. But I just think they missed a trick. I really do. I think there was so much more to give us, and like you say, they've missed it now. They can't kind of go back because we've now definitively seen the Guardians go off to do their thing, and Thor's gone off to do his thing. And so that did disappoint me. And I don't think that we had enough of Star-Lord and Thor like we did in Endgame. Like, you could have had so much. Like, it's Chris Pratt and Chris Hemsworth, two very, very, very talented and funny individuals. There was so much potential. And the bit that we got, the speech bit that kind of Star-Lord gives him, we'd already seen that in the trailers, like the big funny bits of that we had seen in the trailer. But that was the best bit of the Asgardians of the Galaxy, I think. And we'd already seen it, which is a real shame. I was a bit disappointed by Sif. Just because
barely in it.
Yeah, but we saw her in a comic accurate costume. So she was in her comic book accurate costume. And I was like, Taika Waititi, you've done it. You've given us Sif as she should have been. But you've just taken her arm off. That's fine. Like, you know, she's damaged on the battlefild. But even that was like, maybe your arm isn't bad.
Yeah, that's I loved that little line of maybe your arm isn't bad.
That was just brilliant. But I was kind of like, you know, you've done her dirty again, like that. You know, and again, when you look at Thor, you've got the Warriors 3 and you've got Lady Sif. So you've got Thor, the Warriors 3 and Lady Sif. And in the earlier films, you had them. But then obviously in Ragnarok, the Warriors 3 all got done. Like, that was it. They were done. But Sif was nowhere to be seen. And there was a lot of questions about that. You know, did she die off screen? Was there something else? And then it was like they kind of was going to give her that moment, and they didn't. Like, I know she's still there at the end and sort of training and stuff. Like, she's training Heimdall's son, isn't she? But I was kind of like, you could have done more with her. I really thought that you were going to see Thor and Sif get together at the end. I don't know why. There was just something in me that I was kind of like, you know what? That's the love story that we all know has existed at some point, but we're going to finally see. And it will be that was kind of where I thought it was going, where she was, you know, get this woman to the infirmary and then she was going to pop back up later. But we didn't. So I don't even know what I'm talking about that. But yeah, I was pleased to see a comic book accurate costume, but gutted that we didn't see more of her. There were, I don't want to just say all the negatives. I don't want to say all the negatives, but there's just a lot of bits on mine.
The thing that made me smile the most and made me smile each and every single time was the fact that they used the sound clip from the meme of the goat screaming in the zoo, because that is a meme on the internet, and they used that sound effect over and over.
Yeah.
And my brother at the side of me went, "Oh, that's getting annoying now," and I was like, "No, it's not." Like, every time. I just couldn't help but laugh. It's such a stupid noise.
Yeah, and the goats are a cool addition. They were a really cool addition. Obviously, part of the comic books, part of kind of like the mythology and stuff of Thor. So it was cool that they were included. I also like the way that they came into it, the way that that race was given them, and they were clearly trying to get rid of them as a gift. But Thor was really like, they're majestic, they're beautiful, like. And I think the funniest bit for me, the goats though, was when he said, "Oh, if not, we can turn them into meat," and they both went quiet. And I just thought that's brilliant. That's really cool. But they were, yeah, I thought they were cool, and I like that they're pulling the chariot and stuff.
Korg trying to whistle them. No, that's not it. No, that's not it.
Let's talk about Korg. Like, clearly, he was in it more than he needed to be because it's Taika Waititi that plays him. So if I was directing a film and I had a big popular character that I played, I'd be like, yeah, put him in the whole film. I
thought Zeus destroying him was a good way of progressing the story. When they made him survive, that was a little bit cheating for me. I was like, nah, they should have destroyed him. That were it. End of his little character. I thought that was more valuable for the story to end Korg there, and I thought I get mad about it.
Yeah, I was kind of like, wow.
Didn't have his silly little comedy. Didn't have a silly little comedy role of, oh, I'm just a face, and like, no.
Yeah, but it was just that was we're totally on the same thing there, because when Zeus killed him, I was like, whoa, I didn't see that coming at all. Like that's heavy.
And Jilly went, not Korg, in the cinema, went, not Korg, because I love Korg. But his death scene would have been much more valuable to the story. Yeah, having him dead. But.
And I think the problem is that they could have made it so he comes back in a future film, but let's be perfectly honest with you, we're probably not going to see Korg in other properties. Like, people aren't going to go, oh, we need Korg from Thor in this film. So they could have killed him off in this film without damaging anything going forward. And what really got me was the bit at the end when he was telling the story. And like, I think it's cool, like, okay, like, it's a gay relationship, that's wicked. But the real throwaway bit for me was that, oh yeah, and when I grew my body back, because that's what we do, I was kind of like, no, now you're just kind of making stuff up in a sentence for a sentence on the screen. Like, make him a face, like, make him a mantelpiece above the fire or something, like, and he's telling the story from the fireplace or something. Do you know what I mean? Like that, I would have been behind that. But to see him pair off with another, and it was kind of like, no, it's unnecessary. Like they didn't need that, and you would have had more value in him dying or being like just a talking rock, at the end. That would have been really cool. Valkyrie, I enjoyed. I got no issues with Valkyrie.
She was there.
Yeah, she, much the same as all the other films that she's been involved in, she wasn't a huge player in the film, but enough.
Let me see if you're on the same page with me as this then. The whole thing with Jane Foster Thor and the storyline and the way everything ended felt so, I don't know, why did we need this storyline? They wasn't setting anything up. They're not introducing anything for a future story. The story ended more or less with Thor just continuing to be a hero through the galaxy still. He's not gone off to, we've not seen the end of him. And
no.
The whole thing with Jane Foster and the story arc, I get the fact that it was his love that he lost and now he's lost her again. And I get all that crap, but it's like, it just felt unnecessary. The whole story felt kind of unnecessary, to be honest.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it for what it was, but it was unnecessary.
But with that said, the whole story was contained within the story, because I had been given enough information about the Jane Foster and Thor relationship in the other films and Endgame and everything like that. Yeah. It's like, okay, that was his relationship. Like, the whole montage they showed of him living with her, and like that never crossed my mind as a character. I was like, I never thought that they had more than what they had. So I was kind of like, okay, I enjoyed it. It was fun, but it was all contained within the four walls of that thing. The only loophole of it is, okay, let's jump right to the end, just the very post credit scene, and we see her in what's it called,
Valhalla.
Valhalla. And we see her in that, and that was a massive pop for me because Heimdall was there. Happy days. Love Heimdall. And then shortly after that, it said Thor will return. But what I thought was interesting is it didn't really specify which version of Thor we're talking about.
Yeah.
And for them to show you that shortly after you see Natalie Portman's Mighty Thor with Heimdall in essentially like the Heaven for the Gods, I just thought that was not Heaven for the Gods, Heavens for the Asgardians. I thought that was really interesting. I thought there's potential that they could bring her back from there, and then she wouldn't be ill. She would just be, she wouldn't have the cancer. She wouldn't be sick. So she would just be the Mighty Thor because she's already died, gone to this place, come back. And so I read that very much that they were talking about her as opposed to Hemsworth's Thor.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And one thing as well that I liked from the story, but I got very it didn't make sense, was they made that sort of thing at the beginning where they said, where he sort of says to Thor says to the Hammer, always look after her, make sure you look after her. That was kind of the hint of why she was worthy and why he lifted him, why she became Thor. And I kind of get that, but basically the Hammer didn't help her. The Hammer was basically killing her faster.
Yeah.
So the Hammer didn't actually protect her at all.
No, it didn't do anything. Yeah.
Which is direct from the comics. That is straight from the comics, that storyline. So we can't say that's been done for film because it is genuinely from the comics. But that whole thing of protect her for me, and then it's the Hammer that killed her inevitable is like, that's a bit weird.
Yeah, I would have liked, I suppose that it just felt a little bit rushed in the film that, okay, we see a montage, we see him telling the Hammer you see Mjolnir to look after her. She then travels to New Asgard because she gets a feeling that, it's calling her, and then it all kind of comes together. I thought the effect of the Hammer, like being able to throw it and all the pieces I thought that was superb. I thought that was really cool to see all the little ching, 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 ching.
I like that.
That was really, really cool. The whole jokes with Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, it was fun. It was funny the first couple of times, but then it was just kind of like, okay, you're really overplaying this now. This is like it's like when somebody tells you a joke and everyone laughs, and then they keep trying to tell it throughout the night. Like that's how it felt. Like the bit that got me was when he was like, she was talking in the room and she's spinning it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, come to daddy," and then Stormbreaker just comes past his head. That bit really had me laughing out loud. But then after that, here's your first beer, and it was like, oh, come on, what? This is getting silly. But yeah, Hemsworth's. Go on.
I would say another thing that confused me as well was about the hammers and stuff. I get that Stormbreaker can wield the Bifrost, but couldn't Mjolnir? I thought in the first couple of films he used Mjolnir to get back to Rainbow Road and all that stuff.
Yeah, but that was with Heimdall as well. Heimdall with a sword and everything like that. To be perfectly honest with you, that's one part of the comic books and the films that I'm not 100% sure on how it all works. But yeah, it was, I don't know. Hemsworth's Thor, what were your thoughts on him? What?
It was all right. It was a Thor film. What more can you expect from it? It was going to be silly because it's Chris Hemsworth, and that's how he plays Thor now. Ever since Ragnarok, this is how they're going about Thor. Make it silly because kids will laugh.
Yeah. It was good.
It works in that respect.
It did work, and I thought that the times when it worked some of the best was with the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, where he was kind of like, I wasn't sure about him riding Stormbreaker like a witch's broom. Like, I don't know what that was all about, but yeah, the bits where he's kind of doing the whole speech and throws the cape off and this ends now, and then does and then the tower falls down and stuff. Like, I just thought that was really cool, and I was like, yes, this is good. This is where I want it to go. The whole film, for me, felt like, because I went back and watched the other 3-4 films. There were 3 Thor films. I went back and watched them all in the week kind of leading up. And the first 2 are crap in comparison to some of the other MCU films, but they're not as bad as I remembered. They're just, when you compare them to things like Iron Man and Captain America, the four films were much bigger because it's all Asgardian and mythology and all this kind of stuff. So I can kind of understand why people look back at them not as fondly. But the first two aren't actually as bad as I remembered. Ragnarok was a different level, and it was really good, and it was what made Thor last. But it just felt like kind of people had gone, you know what, you rescued Thor with Ragnarok, here's a pile of money, do your thing, it's going to work. And it just felt like people were, I don't know, there was Ragnarok was pushed the limits enough. This felt a little bit unchecked. That makes sense. It felt like it almost wasn't kind of approved by Marvel at the end. It was approved at the beginning. Yeah, you did all this the first time round, it worked, so just do your thing again. And then they produced this because there was a bit too much of silliness at times. But yeah, I mean, overall, I really enjoyed it. It was an enjoyable watch, and
they definitely made it so that you don't need to see Thor 1 and 2. As long as you've seen Ragnarok, I think you understand where this, like they kept doing that thing with Korg where he'd narrate it. Like, Thor did narrate the story for you, so you didn't even need to go back and watch the original films to see this one. I think that was done with kids in mind, because kids would find the first two films a struggle to watch, I think. Whereas, this has definitely now been made to be a family film with young kids in mind because of the silliness. It's definitely a kids thing.
I like that they did callbacks to the original characters like Darcy and I can't remember the name of the Doctor now, but they used the actors that were in those first films to call back as those characters. What about the Zeus inclusion of Zeus?
I thought it was funny to have Russell Crowe playing him, doing a very weird little accent, which I thought was interesting, especially for a man that's been done for being a bit crazy in the past, and then he's doing that weird little Greek accent. That was interesting.
It was, I don't know, the trailers. No, that's one of the parts I'm talking about. As in, like, it feels like it wasn't checked.
We have orgy, yes.
Yeah, he's not going to the orgy.
That was like almost like it was taking the mick out of the boys. That was all it felt, because it's about that same time. It's like Taika Waititi was having a bit of a poke at the boys there. Like, he's not coming to the god orgy.
Yeah. But the trailers made it seem as if the inclusion of Zeus and everything was going to be a much bigger part of the storyline, and it really wasn't. And this is Zeus. This is supposed to be like, they really showed him kind of off the wagon, because he wasn't in the best shape. Like, he wasn't brave. He wasn't kind of, and it was, and they kind of finished him off quite quickly. And I genuinely thought that they'd killed him off.
You could say the same with, sorry, I would say you could say the same when, like, Anthony Hopkins as the Allfather, as Odin. Yeah, it's like the gods are in the elder years now, and that's why we're getting that. That's why you're sending Hercules after him. It's like, because Zeus is too out of shape to go get him. You get revenge, so he sends his son after him.
Yeah. So that bit for me, the mid-credit Hercules pop was huge, and I think you said, didn't you, earlier on about Hercules?
I reckon Hercules will show up. Yeah. It made too much sense when you've got Zeus in it. It's just the instant we'll bring in Hercules, because he's part of the new Avengers, isn't he? Hercules and She-Hulk, and he's ready for the roster. But we're clearly going to get another. The next Thor film is clearly going to be another cheesy Thor versus Hercules, who's going to act a lot like Thor, probably. Two meatheads, idiots.
Do you think that they'll do another one then? Do you think there's another one on the cards?
Oh god, yeah. They've introduced Hercules now. There's going to be another. I think they're going to make one more film with Chris Hemsworth's Thor, because then they can sort of do the whole. They'll pretend the first two don't exist, and in the future, when you think of Thor, you'll think of Ragnarok, Love and Thunder, and whatever this next film gets called. You'll have like a little trilogy of, the Taika Waititi years or whatever. It's like that particular box set.
That's very interesting, actually. That's a really interesting theory. I didn't think about that because I thought
it's like a self-containing little trilogy, then, isn't it?
Yeah, everybody's talking about the trilogies and and this was like the first of the original six to have a fourth film. But actually, when you say it like that, that actually makes a lot of sense. And this film included, like you say, included all the parts of those first two that you needed to know. So essentially, they've kind of gone, right, well, that established. It didn't actually establish much, to be fair. Let's be honest. If you think back to those first two films, it was about his journey of being worthy, and you didn't need it. Whereas Ragnarok, Love and Thunder are tied into the bigger picture, and also you think Thor, the first Thor film, introduced us to Thor and Loki, and both of those characters have had huge success through the rest of the franchise. But nobody's sitting there going, "Oh, you need to watch Thor 1 before you watch Loki." So that's a really interesting. So yeah, I think maybe we are going to get that third installment.
The guy that's playing Hercules, Brett Goldstein, is playing him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's Brett Goldstein was the actor. He's not. He's a ripped up guy, but he's not Hercules by any means. He's going to look small at the side of Thor, unless he's going to properly. Brett Goldstein. He was the guy that was in like Drifters. He was in Inbetweeners. He's been in Ted Lasso. He's been in all sorts of comedy stuff in the UK. He's a British actor. He's been in loads of comedy stuff. Yeah, Superbob.
Yeah.
He's a bit.
Oh, okay.
He's a bit small, isn't it? Unless he's going to
it's
properly
an interesting
meet up.
one. That is a really interesting one.
Hercules.
I wonder if there's any pictures of him.
I don't think many have come out yet, other than the little mid-credit sequency one.
Yeah, there's no actual pictures of him. That's really interesting, actually. Yeah, but if they are going to do another film, he's now got enough time to
get do something about it. Yeah. We said that about Thor in the first Avengers, didn't we? And then all of a sudden, now look at him. He's beefed up over the years.
You think about it, Tom Hiddleston auditioned for Thor.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So if Tom Hiddleston could audition for Thor, he's not a big guy. He's not out of shape, but he's not a big guy at all. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Christian Bale, Gore the God Butcher.
I forgot it was him playing him. To be honest, I thought it was. I thought he played a really good role in that.
Yeah.
And I forgot that it was because when we first started talking, I think I said to you, I hate Christian Bale. I'm not a big fan of his. And I just thought, God, he's going to turn God the Butcher into Batman, and we're just going to get a growly, I'm not dead. And that's all I expected from him. But he played a really good role. He played it quite serious and sinister.
Yeah, it was. I think the whole shadow realm and the coming out of the shadows gave him a lot to play with in regards to how he was using that character. But yeah, I thought he was really good, and I really enjoyed that origin story of him at the beginning with the daughter dying and him then coming across the gods and then being a bunch of kind of douches. And it was a bit easy that, oh look, you've stumbled across the gods and it's your god and he doesn't want you, sort of thing. And oh yeah, they're here celebrating killing this guy that's got the Necrosword. I thought they played that quite well into it, because the Necrosword in the comic books has got a lot of tie-ins with the symbiotes and Null and all the rest of it. So the fact that they were able to do it without breaking too much of that, but also not giving too much of that away, I thought worked quite well. And I like the progression of the character, how he got more and more kind of worse. I would have liked to have seen him killing some other gods, to be honest with you. But there's supposedly there was a deleted scene in Moon Knight of the Egyptian gods talking about Gore taking some of them out. So that would have been interesting. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen him do more damage, if that makes sense, and sort of become this creature. I almost think the bit at the end was a little bit easy.
The ending, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The way that like
I didn't
he's
like
there.
Yeah, I didn't like the ending to the film where now Thor's got this little, God goes to the entity being, whatever you want to call it, gets his daughter back because love saved the day, and then now Thor's got a random daughter he's got to look after. Nah, I'm not into that. I didn't think. Thought that would be naff.
No.
I would have liked to have seen like that moment where they were trying to talk him round and then him sort of laugh in the face and then do something proper evil and end it on a darker note. That could have been a cool story.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they did make it far too easy. Basically,
Gore
won and got what he wanted, and then Thor just gave up at the last minute.
Yeah. And also the way that the Gore's daughter's he's now training her, and she's got Stormbreaker, and they're kind of going out in the galaxy. But then they are Love and Thunder, like that's what the name is. Do you know what I mean? They kind of said that at the end, didn't they? That they're known as Love and Thunder, and it's kind of like, oh right, okay.
That was very weird. Is she even in the comic books? I don't remember that character of Gore's daughter.
I don't. I'm gonna actually have to. I meant to look this up before, but I think that's why it threw me a little bit, because I mean I've not read every Thor comic out there. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't. I've read certain story arcs, but I don't remember. I don't remember that being a thing.
Did you see? Did you see? Is he called He's called Watu, isn't he? The guy from What If? He was in the background of a couple of the scenes. You noticed that?
Oh, was he?
Yeah, his silhouette was in several shots when they were in like the celestial style bits. He was there, and the outline of him was in the bit where they first went to the Dark Realm, wherever it was. You could see his silhouette looking over the children and stuff. He was like in the background, like he was in What If, like he's just watching.
Oh, mate, I'm gonna have to.
So there was a couple of little What If. There was a couple of Watcher moments, and I genuinely thought for a bit that whole the way they made I don't know what it's called, that entity thing that they were going to. The symbol for it looked a lot like Galactus, didn't it?
Yeah, no,
like it's the things coming up and the.
No, it is a character in.
Yeah, I know.
What's he
looked
called?
it up afterwards, but yeah, he's a character. But I thought he did look a lot like to Apocalypse almost. No, to
Eternity. He's called.
Yeah, Eternity.
Yeah. So yeah, it says here. Is Thor's daughter Love in Marvel Comics? The simple answer is no. In fact, Thor doesn't have a daughter in Marvel's primary timeline.
Awesome.
And Gore's child was actually a son in the comic books. That's what I thought. I did think that there was something off about it being a girl. Yeah, so Love is an original character created specifically for Thor, Love and Thunder.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, see, this is why I knew that I'd read it. So in the comic books, on a different Earth, Thor and Sif have a child. That's right. This is all coming back to me a little bit now. So yeah, she is, she's created for the films.
Keep your phone there. I've just sent you a thing on what's on Messenger. Boop.
Oh, okay. So it says here as well, one of the things that I'm reading, she's got powers, hasn't she? She's got like laser beam eyes and stuff. Now where's that come from? But it says because she was created out of eternity, and eternity is obviously a hugely powerful character in the comic books. They're saying that basically because she was created out of it, does she have I'll say them because I don't know quite what sex eternity is, but has she got their powers, and can she transform into things and stuff? Okay. So yeah, so they're basically saying that because of the way the story went, is she actually Gore's daughter or is she Eternity's daughter?
That would make more sense.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And the fact that she can hold Stormbreaker and stuff like that. And she can clearly pick up Mjolnir because she drew all over it.
Well,
so that
in
was
that
a little
film, again, this is all I'm not sure if this ever happened in the comic, but in the film, Thor kind of temporarily can give people powers according to the new film. Is that I don't remember that ever being established in a comic book before. Because all the kids, he basically says, temporarily you can all have the power of Thor, and he does the lightning thing and gives them all lightning powers. And they all suddenly turn into gods, don't they? Do you remember it? A bit. I don't remember that being in the comics either. That was another bit that I thought was a bit too easy. You know, the kids are now suddenly running around killing darklings with bunny rabbit laser beam eyes.
Speaking of kids as well, one thing I did hear is that Taika Waititi said that it was like their children, as in like the cast children that were in that.
Natalie Portman's kid were in it. Taika Waititi's kid was in it.
Chris Hemsworth were. Chris Bales were. But they said that they also came up with the monsters. Like they kind of said, "Oh, draw these things," and they drew these creatures, and so they that's quite a cool thing. Heimdall having a kid though, I don't remember that being established anywhere. Like I didn't even see him with someone.
It's almost like they've gone, crap, we kind of need Heimdall back for future storylines to explain how Thor can go between all these different realms. So we'll just have Heimdall have a boy who looks a lot like him and can have his eyes and can do the same thing. And Thor's going to train him how to control the Bifrost. It's almost like they've done that, isn't it? Just set that up for future so they've got the excuse to use it.
Yeah. Like, I don't remember there even being a hint towards that, like Ragnarok, for example, because Heimdall was a big part of Ragnarok, but there was no hint towards that. And then if you actually think of Heimdall's story, so he's kind of he's a rebel in Ragnarok and helping everybody get away from Asgard. He then obviously leaves Asgard on the ship, but then you see him also in Infinity War kind of fighting Thanos and being killed by Thanos. There was no hint towards him having a family anywhere. So for this son to just kind of appear, I was like, oh, and everybody knew who he was, as if like it was like, why would Thor know Heimdall as a son? Like, and the little jokes about him changing his name, like that, I was kind of like, this is a character that wasn't even established, and you're making jokes about him wanting a different name. Like it just, things like that didn't sit very well for me.
Yeah, and as much as we tearing this film apart, I enjoyed it for what it was.
Oh, I loved it.
Enjoyable, and I enjoyed it. But yeah, there was some very questionable moments. Like I say, it did feel very unchecked by Marvel. It felt like they went just run with it.
Yeah,
and I think that's gone along with it for the ride.
I think that's the key kind of message to what we're saying here. Like, I really did enjoy it for what it was, but it just felt a bit unchecked. And it almost as if like they know that there's going to be 3, that Ragnarok was the first of 3. So let's just party with this one and have fun, because whatever we put into it, we're going to tie off in the next one. And that would make sense as to why you didn't just kill Korg off, because you keep Korg in it so that you've got that character to play with in the next film. There was one part that I thought was really poetic though, and that was when Jane, who looked good as Thor, let's be honest as well, she looked damn fine as Thor. Like I was like, wow, like you look good. But that bit in front of the mirror where she put the hammer down and then instantly changed and she was really sick, I was like, okay, this is good. This is like, it's edgy as well at that time. I honestly thought she was going to go off with Valkyrie at one point. I thought that there was a real kind of romance blossoming. Yeah, because I didn't miss it, did I? Valkyrie didn't actually have anyone.
No, not that I'm aware of. It didn't look like it.
No, she like talked about having lots of people, but there wasn't somebody significant. So again, that's possibly a story that they've outlined to bring up a little bit later.
We've not seen, Valkyrie's character still needs some redeeming arc at this point. She lost the Valkyrie sisters. She lost her way, and now she's come back to become the ruler of Asgard. But they've not given her a happily ever after yet, have they?
No.
So they've not given her final storylines. I think that'll be a feature of the next film as well.
Meek was a woman as well. I didn't like they established that she was a woman.
Mm.
And that was never really discussed in the other film. Like that, what sexuality Meek was, but then they specifically say her in this, don't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, overall, I thought it was really good, and there was a lot to it that I think I just wanted more. I think that's probably my critique, is that these loose ends weren't because I thought it was rubbish, but just because it was like, what, give us 10 minutes more of that story. Give us a little bit more context to that.
I liked it. I found it more funny in the first half, where Thor and Lady Thor were kind of at odds still. That made it more awkward and funny. Like when he did that thing where he lands and he puts on the armor because she's wearing the armor, and then he makes his helmet on a little bit bigger. Things like that. I think that's where Chris Hemsworth really is funny as an actor, when he tries to do that silly comedy. But it's when they started doing the whole they managed to rekindle their love after being apart for so long, so quickly.
Yeah.
It felt a bit rushed, and I thought it was better leaving them as separate things and having the story be that they'll always love one another but they can't be together kind of thing. I thought that was more poetic, but
I did kind of hope that was where it was going to go. I think it would have been more satisfactory for me if you had seen this kind of, and more realistic, because let's be honest, when there's kind of people in a relationship that have kind of fallen apart and then kind of do reconnect, very rarely do they kind of jump back into each other's arms and go, oh, this is what we should have had. Like there's usually that awkward kind of like, oh, do we, don't we? No, actually we split up for a reason. Let's be happy for each other in our own directions kind of thing. That's how it should have gone for me. And I would, I'd happily have seen a kiss between them. I would have seen that awkward, but then for maybe her to go off with Valkyrie, or even for her to die, and then for Thor to go off with somebody else, or to go off with Sif or something. I didn't need them to have that full circle.
No, I didn't. And so one thing about the very ending of the film, like I said earlier, where you see Valhalla. In Norse mythology, death is not the end. Death is only the beginning for the gods. The gods, after Ragnarok in the original stories, the folklores, they couldn't be reincarnated.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering whether, because there's already a Thor in Midgard, that's why she's now dead, because Mjolnir couldn't power both of them or something stupid. And maybe when they finally kill off Chris Hemsworth's character, she can be recalled to Earth because there needs to be a Thor in Midgard. That was kind of my theory on it. There can only be one Thor.
Yeah, that would work.
So, like, they could do a scene where Thor finally, he's had his adventures, he's done, he kind of dies, like a bit like his father did. He just kind of disappears and goes to Valhalla. He finally gets his ending of dying in battle or whatever. But then, an end credit scene could be the whole Mjolnir shaking, coming back together, and we see Jane Foster appear again.
Yeah,
and then we could see a bit more of her character.
A more satisfying end for me would have been seeing him become the kind of Odin character to like a different race or something, like he was earlier, where he was kind of protecting people and stuff, to actually find somewhere and settle there. So that and I think we said this in a previous show, but basically we know that he's out there doing something, but we see that kind of full circle in this film, and then possibly explore a different angle. And there were so many characters they could have used as well. I was adamant that Beta Ray Bill was going to be in this one, but adamant. And there was talks about it and everything, and then didn't show up.
Beta Ray Bill could come into the net if they do continue it the way they're going. His over the top silly character could come in with the whole Hercules thing, and
well, that's
that kind of element.
That's the what Thor comic is it? I can't remember, but it's got a really bizarre title, like the Thor Wars or something like that. And basically, there's a Thor character from different universes, and they all come together. There's about 4 or 5 of them that come together to defeat a united enemy, and that's how it works. And Beta Ray Bill his character is so impressed by Thor that he mimics his look and his style on Thor. So he has his own version of Stormbreaker. He has like a similar costume, and that's from, if I remember rightly, that's his kind of backstory. But yeah, and I think maybe that's one of the kind of questions I have over it. Is it didn't feel that it set anything up. It didn't feel that it established anyone to carry the torch. It didn't conclude the story, and it didn't give anyone a torch to carry. It was just a a filler film between the beginning and the end of something.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I came out, I don't want to say disappointed because I wasn't, but I think that's why I came out confused. Because I was like, I really thought this was the swan song. And you look at films look at Endgame for Iron Man and Captain America. Look at Black Widow for Black Widow. Look at the Hawkeye TV show for Hawkeye. Hulk is obviously very much still in it. I thought this was going to be that for Thor, that we were going to see this kind of final hurrah, and it was going to set something up, and it didn't.
I think that's been the confusing part. Yeah, there's definitely going to be one more movie to round out that storyline. There's got to be. Yeah. Otherwise, it's a very disappointing ending to his trilogy.
Yeah. There is. They've put in there that Thor will return. So there's obviously some plan on the table for Hemsworth to pick up the role again. And I think the thing is, him and Taika Waititi were actually friends, and they were friends before the Thor films. I heard that in an interview as well, that they're actually friends before Taika Waititi got the Thor job. So I can imagine that he probably doesn't do it for as much money as he would do it under someone else, because it's like going to work with your mate. I think that they probably both do it. I think this is me massively speculating, but I can't imagine they're putting in millions and millions and millions to do these films. It would be an affordable amount for the studio to go, yep, you're on board, and we can pay that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one story that's currently in the comics right now, that's been very, very recent, is the Banner of War. Have you seen that one?
I haven't read it or anything.
Thor and Hulk, basically. It's a bit like Ragnarok, to be honest. And Hulk and Thor are going at it and stuff. I'm wondering whether the next film might be very similar to Ragnarok. And Zeus basically pits, like, it's going to be like gladiatorial style, Thor versus Hercules, and the Hercules' labors kind of being a thing, and Hercules has to take out Thor, Banner, and that's where we could get Hulk coming back, maybe with She-Hulk, and then She-Hulk and Hercules could meet, and that could start something like the comics have. That could lead him into like the new Avengers.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. That would definitely,
because they've got to go from enemies to friends, basically.
Yeah,
as silly as it is, because obviously in the comic books, Hercules is not a villain.
Yeah.
He's a hero.
One thing that did strike me as weird, and I've done a TikTok on this. I don't think I published it yet, though. At the time of recording, I don't think I published it. So you'll probably hear it on my TikTok before you hear it on this show. But Fortnite have done an update with a Gods of Thunder pack. Have you seen that?
Oh,
where you get Thor in the gold helmeted armor. You get Mighty Thor in her get up. You got two looks. You've got powered up with the lighting in or powered down. You get both Stormbreaker and Mjolnir as pickaxes. You get both capes as back bling. You get gliders as, you're looking at it now, aren't you? You get gliders as Mjolnir and as Stormbreaker, and you also get an emote as well of Thor banging down Mjolnir. And it's about 15 quid for all of those skins. Now, the thing that really confuses me about this, missed opportunity. Why have they put Thor and Thor in as a character pack when there's been one Marvel character in the whole of the universe to play Fortnite that's in this film that they didn't give us as a character. If they had given us Korg as a skin, I think everyone would have been all over that. One of him in his Hawaiian shirt and an alternative version in his Viking outfit.
I think the one in his shirt as well would have gone down really well with the new season's like vibe and stuff.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's like all so you could literally have him in like the vibe kit that we saw in Thor in Avengers Endgame or Infinity, whichever one it was. And then as an alternative skin or alternative outfit, you've got the Viking kind of the furry shoulders and everything that we saw in the new film. That would have made so much more sense. And I think my kind of unwritten rule when I say to my son is that I won't play with a skin unless it's part of a battle pass or something like that. But I very rarely play with a skin that wouldn't use a gun anyway. If that makes sense. So me for having to have Thor running around with a cape and gold helmet holding a SMG like just doesn't work. But Korg, it would kind of work because he's got his little cannon thing, hasn't he? So but yeah, I was like, that's a massive missed opportunity. What how has somebody not gone, hold up a sec? Like if we're putting Marvel characters in, one Marvel character in the MCU who's actually played Fortnite in an MCU film, it's got to be Korg. Now you could call it the Noob Master set or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, you could even put Meek as the back bling or something. Do you know what I mean? It's just I don't know. But yeah, I did it as a TikTok, as in like, why have we not got this?
Thing is, I love Fortnite, but you can guarantee whatever comes out now, you're gonna get a skin for it. I'm really surprised there's not an Eddie skin yet from Stranger Things. I'm really surprised.
I'm shocked. I am really shocked as well that there's not been. There's been some. I've seen them online, like where people do like their customized ones and stuff. So they've done like the Stranger Things setup. But Eddie with like a guitar as the back bling and a pickaxe, like it just, or even the pickaxe as the shield, the dustbin lid shield, like it. Yeah, I'm surprised. Speaking of merchandise, though, before we do move off of Thor, Marvel Legends. We had the Love and Thunder wave, and it's always interesting to look at the figures after the film because a lot of the figures are done on concept art and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm really shocked how accurate the wave is, to be perfectly fair. Valkyrie was brilliant. Jane Foster's Thor was brilliant. Gore the God Butcher was pretty much spot on. I would have liked to have got the darker version. The version that we got seems like a very early version of him as opposed to the darker version near the end. Korg, spot on, absolutely brilliant. Star-Lord, interestingly enough, even though people were like, why have we got another Star-Lord? And he is a blink and you'll miss it in the film, but pretty spot on. Like, it works pretty well. Groot, bit pointless, but I was happy to have a new teenage Groot with the tree arms and stuff like that, so that was cool. The only one I'm disappointed with is the main Thor. Oh, Ravager Thor, whatever it's called, with the biceps and everything like that. Brilliant. Works perfect. The only one I was disappointed with was the kind of the armored Thor, because it's the very early version of him. So the wings are big, but he's got the chain-mailed arms. And obviously when we saw him in that outfit throughout the film, he had bare arms.
Yeah.
And as a collector, you're kind of like, you know what, I can swap off the unmasked head from one figure and put that on the other one. But realistically, I can't because he didn't have the covered arms without the helmet. So I would have liked to have seen maybe the uncovered arms. That's a really, really, really minimal critique on a whole wave.
Could you not kit bash one though if you got another just bare armed Thor?
I've got enough bits and pieces floating around. I probably could, but I shouldn't have to. That's my mentality. I just like I can, just because I can do it doesn't mean I should. But yeah, as a wave, looking back at it, really strong, really strong. And I find that really bizarre considering how good Multiverse of Madness was and how weirdly mixed matched that wave of figures was. But yeah, I'm really pleased. And I think that it's also a wave that now the film's come out and so many people are raving about it, that wave will probably get a little bit harder to obtain for anyone that hasn't got it.
the figures, if you think about it, came out pretty late as well, though. The Doctor Strange figures came out quite quickly. When the film was announced, really the figures came out. So I wonder whether that's where... I wonder if, obviously, the Marvel team... Sorry, the Hasbro team had more chance to see bits of the trailers as they came out for Thor: Love and Thunder before they made the wave. Yeah, and that's why they're more accurate, because they saw more of the TV spots and things. Whereas the Doctor Strange wave seemed to come out pretty quick.
Yeah, to be fair, I didn't see Thor with the kind of bare arms until a much later kind of screenshot in something like Empire or Total Film or something like that.
Yeah.
So I assume the concept art that they got of that costume was obviously the chainmailed arms. But yeah, it's a really strong wave. I'm really pleased to have it on the shelf. I suppose there is one little bit of figure news before we kind of round up. Are you happy with that as a conclusion to Thor?
Yeah.
Is there anything else?
We spoke about it for really a good hour, so yeah, that's fine.
Did we? Wow.
Really a good hour just talking about Thor.
That's insane. Well, it's a big film. So, and that concludes, I believe, Phase 4. I think that was the last Phase 4 film coming out. I think.
Really?
I'll have to check.
Phase 4 done.
Yeah. Well, we've got. Wow. Hang on, look. Let's have a think.
I don't feel like we've had an ending to Phase 4. It doesn't feel like there's been a. Like normally,
I don't know if
like
it's Phase 4 completed.
I'm about to say, because the ending to like a phase normally concludes with like a crossover film.
Okay, so Phase 4 so far has included Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Far From No Way Home, Multiverse of Madness, and Love and Thunder. The 6 films. 6 films. But it's a weird mix, isn't it? Because Black Widow and Shang-Chi were supposed to come out much earlier than they did. And then therefore the other 3 were all pushed back as well. So the other 4, sorry, were all pushed back as well. But yeah, that's the 6 films of Phase 4 so far.
And don't forget, we were meant to see Thor before Doctor Strange, weren't we originally? Thor was originally slated for a February release. Yeah. Originally, it like before COVID and stuff, it was a pretty. I remember it was like Eternal, Spider-Man, Thor, Doctor Strange were all within months of each other.
Yeah.
The timeline was really short. Obviously, with COVID and stuff, it pushed everything back and out the window, and everything got randomly pushed around. So we ended up seeing Black Widow later than Shang-Chi. We ended up seeing. Then we got Eternals, then we got Spider-Man, but then we've ended up seeing Doctor Strange before Thor.
Is there actually any films in the mix at the moment? Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Because one thing in Thor, because one thing in Thor that I thought was funny is we didn't hit, like, Darcy didn't even mention anything to do with WandaVision, or she doesn't mention anything. It's like she's just come straight out of the Thor films and nothing's happened to her. Whereas we know that she's featured in other things since. Yeah, she didn't even. It's not even mentioned.
No.
So
no, and then, again, that's another bit that we only saw her for a couple of minutes on screen.
Yeah.
And it would have been nice to have had a bit of an extended part of that, and for her to kind of talk a little bit about what had been happening, just to acknowledge it and tie it together. But yeah, no, Guardians of the Galaxy is the next one. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which comes out. Well, they finished filming that one, haven't they? So, and that would essentially kind of tie into the back end of this one as well. So, but no, the one kind of figure news on the Hasbro kind of the Hasbro front is that all of the Beyond Amazing figures by Spider-Man have all been massively pushed up. I don't know if you heard this across the groups and stuff, but they were slated for an October release. So everyone had kind of budgeted for these releases in October, and they've actually been pushed up to this month. So they're literally due out within the next couple of weeks. That pre-orders and balances are going to be paid off by. And I think that's a really awful move.
Hasbro are doing it left, right, and center at the minute. They've done it with Star Wars as well. All the Kenobi figures, they were meant to come out. I think it said January 23 for those figures, and they've brought them out now. You can buy them at LFCC Comic Con this weekend for 30 quid a pop.
I just think I was having a discussion on one of the groups, and somebody was like, "Why are they doing this?" And I said, "Well, the problem is that during the pandemic, everyone was dropping their pre-orders because things have been delayed because of what was going on in the world. Things have been delayed, And it just feels that now they're putting in ETAs so far in advance that people are kind of going, oh, okay, well, I'll pre-order that because it's not for another 12 months. And then putting them up to the actual release date so that they're not disappointing anyone, but they're not letting anyone down, but they are still producing. And I just think it's a real shame because things like this Beyond Amazing set, a lot of collectors have pre-ordered pretty much everything that they put out there because of it being a Spider-Man's anniversary year, because of it being figures that we haven't had yet, etc., etc. And that's a hefty bill for a lot of people. It's a couple of £100 of stuff, and they're all coming out at the same time. So people are really like, if you have a look on some of the groups, there are panic sales at the moment of people kind of going, buy my stuff. I need the money so that I can get my Spider-Man figures. And I just think it's a really odd move. It's a real shame, I think, for some collectors. So I think they're going to miss out on things that they genuinely want.
Oh yeah, it's same across the board. Like I saw, like this weekend, obviously it's been the Film Comic Con. In Demand Toys and a couple others that were there had all the brand new Star Wars stuff, but the prices were that high though, because of shipping charges, things like that, fuel costs, everything's gone up. And so everything, obviously, things go up for Comic Cons anyway. I mean, there's always a few quid extra at Comic Con.
Yeah, but, of course.
30 quid a pop for the figures. And this isn't anything bashing any of the retailers because they've got to do what they're going to do. But 30 quid a pop for the figures. And they had like 2 waves of new stuff. Like me and my friend Richard, he was messaging me because he was down there from London. He was messaging me saying, like, do you need me to pick you up anything? I'm like, think I'm good. 30 quid a pop. That's just, I'll wait till they come to Spitz.
Yeah. And I think that for people that have been collecting quite a while, I remember full waves of Marvel figures coming out for like £99.
Yeah.
Like literally the whole wave for like £99. And now they're pushing like 130, 140, 150 some points, you know, just on pre-orders. And then you've got 2-packs that are like 80 quid, 70 quid, 60 quid. Whereas like the what was it? The first 10 years, I think it was. And you were getting, I think that big Hulkbuster and Hulk set that came out, I think that was like 60 quid. And that was like the top end one. That was like 65 quid for like big figures. I might be mistaken. It might have been a bit more, but it still wasn't the price of some of the 2-packs that are coming out now.
Yep.
And it's like, it's a huge jump that I think they're going to lose a lot of collectors or gain some collectors because they're more high end, maybe. I don't know. They're being classed as higher end figures.
What I've noticed as well is, I'm not sure if you've noticed this, things that would have been a regular wave are now being put into newer style packaging and called something else. So like this whole Beyond Amazing wave, we're going to call it, we would have had a couple of exclusives, a couple of 2-packs, and then a regular wave. But it seems now they're shoving them in these fancy boxes with no bath pieces and calling them special editions. It's not a regular Marvel Legend wave. These are all special figures. It's a bit like when they're doing it with the Star Wars ones and they're doing it for like the carbonized ones, things like that. They bring out a random wave of figures that could have just been a wave, but they've called them something else so they can put like a 4 quid levy on them.
Yeah, and
the thing is, 24, the 28.
The Beyond Amazing element, I totally understand because it's a big thing for Spider-Man. I do get that, but like I've got the Future Foundation one and I've reviewed it and everything like that. But the only thing that makes it special edition is this. Like there isn't anything about the figure that's different. And I take my figures out of the box. So now it's like, okay, so there's my special edition thing, but get rid of that and I've just got a Spider-Man figure. It's the same mold as the other Spider-Man figures. It's just Spider-Man, different costume. There's no
reason why them figures couldn't have just been a wave and had a back figure thrown in them.
And if I was moving that on a second-hand market, taking it out of the box, I can't charge a markup on that. Not that I do. I don't sell my figures, but just thinking. I do sell some of them, but what I mean is I don't buy them to sell them like some people do. But yeah, I mean, I can't put a markup on a loose figure because it came in a fancy box when I originally got it because there's nothing about that makes it anniversary like. There's no anniversary element to that. It's not even there are some in the wave like the first appearance and stuff like that are going to be figures that people are going to want. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's a shame. I think they're going to miss out. But then the Black Panther, the legacy figures, it's the first kind of bunch of figures that's come out where I've actually not touched any of them, because I'm like, I don't need to buy reissued figures that I've still got on my shelf from 2 years ago. Like, no, I'm good. I'm all right. So, yeah, interesting. But I'm excited for San Diego Comic-Con. It's a couple of weeks away, like literally 2 weeks away. So I think there's going to be, loads to get our head around. So
definitely.
Anything else? Any other news?
It's that, as you say, thing is right around the corner with San Diego, so it's a little bit quiet on the Western Front, should we say?
Yeah, be quiet on it. That's it. Actually, before we leave, have you ever watched Westworld?
Westworld, yeah.
I've literally just started it. How have I missed this show?
Oh, it's brilliant. Westworld, obviously, it's a remake as well, isn't it? Because Westworld was a film back in like the 70s or 80s. So it's a very good TV series. Though. It's
brilliant. It's brilliant. It's one of them ones where I was always kind of like, I'll get around to watching that in a minute. And now it's like 4 or 5 seasons deep, and I'm like, this is amazing.
Cast as well. All-star cast.
Yeah, really good cast. Yeah, no, so I'm enjoying that. Cool. All right. Well, listen, if anyone's still listening or still watching, and we do appreciate it, check out the website, give us a follow on social media and all of those things. Next week, Ryan will be back. So what are we? Episode 57 next week?
Yeah.
And Ryan will be back from his holidays. So we'll get his opinion on a few things. But yeah, conclusion to Miss Marvel. Perhaps a few leaks, because we're entering that kind of grey area now where leaks start to come out and images start to come out and stuff. So who knows? We might have some of them to talk about next week. But yeah, if there's nothing else to say, in conclusion, we both thoroughly enjoyed Thor: Love and Thunder, and if you haven't seen it yet, do go and see it, because it's not one to be missed. It really isn't, and we have pulled it apart, but overall, it is a really good film. Anything?
Nope, I'm all good. That's it.
Happy for me to just say that on your behalf.
I'm just waiting for you to do the.
I'm just dragging it out. Till next week, everyone. Keep it geek.
The Geek Week in Review.